The global shipping industry is in crisis. Ports are clogged, ships are stuck, and businesses are scrambling.
Now to something much less exciting. Americans may need to start their holiday shopping early this year because of bottlenecks in the world's supply chains. Shipping containers and unloaded ships are jamming up ports, and there's a shortage of truck drivers to get the products out to customers.
What started as a series of isolated disruptions has turned into a supply chain nightmare stretching across continents. And at the heart of it all, a perfect storm of labor disputes, geopolitical tensions, crumbling infrastructure, and the lingering aftershocks of a pandemic. In October 2024, U.S. East Coast ports came to a grinding halt. Dock workers demanding higher wages walked off the job. New York, Baltimore, Savannah, Miami, major trade hubs were paralyzed. The demand? A 77% wage increase over 6 years. The offer? 50%. The result? Gridlock. Cargo ships waited for days, even weeks, unable to unload. Goods piled up, businesses panicked, and consumers felt the squeeze.
All right, now to that container ship that has been stuck in Chesapeake Bay for more than 3 weeks and counting. This vessel, called the Ever Forward, is ever stuck, setting a lot of people back. It is packed with 5,000 containers, and they're filled to the brim with lots of people's goods, things they want, they need. Every day that passes comes at a cost.
The effects rippled through industries. Car manufacturers faced delays in essential parts. Grocery stores saw price hikes on imported food. The holiday season loomed, but with empty shelves and soaring costs. One strike was all it took to bring America's trade to its knees. While labor disputes crippled ports, another crisis unfolded on the water. In the Red Sea, Houthi rebels attacked commercial ships, forcing them to take a costly detour around Africa. The alternative? Risk being targeted in one of the world's most crucial trade routes. Meanwhile, the war in Ukraine cut off traditional shipping lanes. Air travel became a game of high-stakes navigation as European, North American, and Asian routes stretched longer and costlier due to Russian airspace closures. The result? More congestion, more delays, and an economic chain reaction. Global supply chains weren't just under pressure, they were breaking apart. But even if ships could reach their destinations, many ports were ill-equipped to handle them. Years of underinvestment, outdated technology, and limited storage turned ports into bottlenecks. The demand for goods surged, but ports couldn't keep up. Take the UK's Felixstowe port in 2021. A shortage of truck drivers left thousands of containers stranded. Ships floated offshore, unable to dock. Supermarkets feared empty aisles just as the holiday rush began. Now similar scenes were playing out worldwide. No trucks, no space, no movement. On the other hand, COVID-19 might feel like history, but its effects still haunt global trade. Factory shutdowns, travel bans, and labor shortages left supply chains in disarray. Even as restrictions lifted, the damage was done. Companies found themselves waiting months for shipments that used to take weeks. Businesses scrambled to find new suppliers, only to run into fresh delays. The system was no longer reliable, it was unpredictable. Every delay, every reroute, every disruption has a cost. And that cost doesn't stop at businesses, it lands squarely on consumers. Higher shipping fees mean higher prices in stores. Limited imports mean fewer options on shelves. Uncertainty in deliveries makes people hesitant to spend. The 2024 dock workers' strike alone sent shockwaves through grocery stores. Bananas, pineapples, and coffee, staples for millions, became scarce. Restaurants struggled with rising ingredient costs. The price of everyday essentials climbed. So if one strike, one conflict, or one delay can throw global trade into chaos, how fragile is the system? With no single cause, there's no single fix. Governments and businesses are racing to adapt. Infrastructure investment, expanding ports, modernizing equipment, and increasing storage to reduce bottlenecks. Supply chain diversification, moving production closer to markets, spreading suppliers across different regions to limit risk. Technological advancements, automation, real-time tracking, and AI-driven logistics to predict and manage disruptions. Policy reforms, addressing labor disputes before they explode into full-blown crises. Yet even these solutions come with uncertainty. The global economy is shifting. Tariffs threaten to drive up costs. Companies are reshaping their logistics to avoid geopolitical flashpoints. And consumers, they're left to navigate rising prices and shrinking choices.
UPS and FedEx will be moving to 24/7 operations to try to clear up some of that congestion. And two ports in California that handle 40% of the country's cargo containers will also open around the clock. But some supply chain experts worry that still won't be enough to get things moving.
In the past, supply chains were built for speed and efficiency. Now, they're being redesigned for survival. Ports on the west coast of the U.S. have clawed back lost trade from their eastern rivals. The Port of Los Angeles saw imports surge by 22% in 2024, reversing years of decline. Companies are shifting shipments between coasts, racing to stay ahead of the next crisis. And then there's the wild card, the Red Sea. With a fragile ceasefire in place, shipping companies are watching, waiting. If the truce holds, trade routes could reopen. If it collapses, the chaos continues. For now, the future of global trade hangs in the balance, one crisis away from another breakdown. Remember this ship, the Ever Given. The Ever Given was stuck, a quarter-mile-long container ship wedged sideways in the Suez Canal, holding up billions of dollars in global trade. For nearly a week, over 350 vessels sat idle, waiting for the bottleneck to clear. Oil tankers, container ships, and cargo vessels, each carrying goods meant to keep economies running, were trapped in a crisis that had already been brewing long before this one ship made headlines. Global shipping was already on edge. Even before the Ever Given ran aground, supply chains were stretched to their limits. Businesses struggled to move goods, containers were scarce, and ports were choked with backlogs. Prices were rising. Then, one ship blocked one of the most vital trade routes on the planet. The impact was immediate, but the aftershocks would last for months. Ships carrying everything from consumer electronics to food had no choice but to wait or take longer, costlier routes around Africa. A prolonged blockage could have turned this into a full-scale disaster. Even with the canal cleared, the damage was done. Ships were out of sync, deliveries were delayed, and businesses that relied on just-in-time shipping were left scrambling. The cost of moving goods skyrocketed. Before the crisis, shipping a 40-foot container cost just over $1,000. By March, that number had climbed to nearly $4,600. For companies relying on imports, this was a nightmare. In just 1 month, U.S. businesses paid over $5 billion in container shipping costs, more than double what they spent the previous year. Those extra costs had to go somewhere. Eventually, they would land on the consumer. And it wasn't just about money. The demand for goods had exploded, fueled by people stuck at home ordering everything from exercise bikes to furniture. Ports weren't ready for the surge. Factories struggled to keep up. Even car manufacturers were forced to shut down plants because they couldn't get the microchips they needed. Then there was the container shortage. The world's supply of these massive metal boxes had ended up in all the wrong places. When global trade slowed at the start of the pandemic, shipping companies canceled trips. Containers that should have been cycling between Asia, Europe, and North America were stuck in ports with no way to get back where they were needed. When demand returned, there weren't enough containers to meet it. Shipping giants like Hapag-Lloyd sent more than 50 ships just to relocate empty containers, a task that normally required only a handful of vessels. But even that wasn't enough. Ports in the U.S. were overwhelmed. At the Port of Los Angeles, ships lined up for days, waiting for an open berth. Before the pandemic, there were no waiting ships. Now, at any given moment, dozens sat anchored off the coast, unable to unload. Retailers were feeling the squeeze. Major brands, from apparel companies to toy makers, warned investors that delays were hitting their bottom lines. Peloton blamed port congestion for shipping delays that frustrated customers. Aston Chemicals, a UK-based supplier, saw its shipping costs jump from $2,100 to $14,000 per container, an increase so extreme they had no choice but to pass it on to customers. For many businesses, the only alternative was air freight. Far more expensive, but faster than waiting for a spot on a cargo ship. But even that wasn't easy. With fewer passenger flights in the air, there was less space for cargo in airplane bellies. The companies that could afford it paid the premium. The ones that couldn't simply had to wait. This wasn't just a logistics problem, it was an economic one. Rising shipping costs added pressure to inflation. The cost of raw materials climbed. Manufacturing slowed. Supply chains designed to run with precision had become chaotic. And all of this was happening while consumers continued to buy at unprecedented levels. No easy solution was in sight. The shipping industry had been thrown into disarray by the pandemic, and the Ever Given incident only made things worse. It was a perfect storm: container shortages, surging demand, overwhelmed ports, and soaring freight costs. A single ship blocking the Suez Canal may have been a temporary problem, but the deeper issues remained. The real question wasn't when things would return to normal. It was whether normal even existed anymore. Now it's clear that the supply chain is breaking. The warning signs have been flashing for months, but now the cracks are impossible to ignore. Packed ports, empty shelves, rising prices. This isn't just an inconvenience. It's a crisis, and it's unfolding in real time. Off the coast of California, container ships stretch to the horizon, waiting for a space that never opens. In Chicago, Bobby Javaheri, owner of Yeti Houseware, opens the door to his warehouse. The space, once packed to the ceiling, is eerily empty. "It's never been like this," he says. Christmas is weeks away, and his orders sit stranded. He points the finger at ocean carriers, calling them pirates of the sea. Shipping costs that once hovered around $2,000 per container have soared to $25,000. That's not inflation, he insists. That's exploitation. Gene Soroka, executive director of the Port of Los Angeles, confirms what many fear. The system is drowning in cargo, and it's not moving fast enough. Meanwhile, the ocean carriers are raking in record profits. Maersk, the world's largest shipping line, reports earnings of $16 billion, a 68% increase from the previous year. As businesses struggle, as shelves go empty, as costs climb, the carriers thrive. Truckers accused of no-showing appointments have their own complaints. Matt Schrapp of the Harbor Trucking Association says the booking system is broken. Truckers are given appointments only to be turned away at the last minute. Some terminals refuse to take certain colored containers, forcing drivers to sit idle for hours. The result? Truck yards filled with empty containers, each one using the chassis needed to move new goods. The very equipment meant to ease the crisis is now part of the problem. The delays are breaking businesses, forcing companies to cancel orders, miss deadlines, and disappoint customers. The solutions? Everyone has a different answer. Some blame the lack of truckers, others the outdated logistics systems. Goods remain stuck, prices keep climbing, and no one knows when or if the supply chain will recover. And the reality is, these issues are not isolated events. They are symptoms of a deeper problem, a supply chain built for efficiency, but not for resilience. Companies and governments are scrambling to adapt, but solutions take time, and the disruptions continue. Infrastructure investments are being made, but ports won't be modernized overnight. The cost of inaction is clear. Higher shipping fees translate to increased prices for consumers. Businesses struggle to maintain inventory, leading to shortages. The unpredictability of supply chains makes long-term planning nearly impossible for many industries. The result is a system stretched to its limits, with no immediate fix in sight. So what does the future hold? If global trade is to stabilize, it will require a fundamental shift in how supply chains are structured. Flexibility, redundancy, and risk management must become priorities. Governments must take an active role in ensuring trade routes remain secure. Companies must rethink their reliance on just-in-time manufacturing and consider more localized production. Consumers, meanwhile, must brace for continued price fluctuations and potential shortages in the short term. The supply chain crisis is not just a temporary setback, it is a wake-up call. The world's economy depends on the seamless movement of goods, and as long as ports remain clogged and shipping routes remain unstable, uncertainty will persist. The challenge now is not just to fix the current problems, but to build a more resilient system for the future, one that can withstand the next disruption, whatever it may be. Thanks for sticking around till the end. The global supply chain crisis is shaking up industries worldwide, but understanding the causes and solutions is the first step toward stability. What do you think is the biggest challenge in fixing this mess? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest breakdowns. See you in the next one.